more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. And I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. Oh yeah, yeah. 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 Yeah.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder as we enjoy the weather roller coaster that is springtime in the Rockies. My name is Bob Evans, and I will be the worship leader for today's service. We welcome all at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. If you are a new visitor, please email our office manager, Amy Zen, and let us know you found us. You will find her email in the Zoom chat. Our church website has a great deal of information about the church and activities. Now, please ensure your microphones remain muted and join us for worship.
Thank you so much, Bob. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
We prepare our hearts and minds for worship. Hear these words of Sweet Home Teacup, who writes, quote, "May we recognize and abandon the familiar attitudes and practices that do not serve the whole. We are who we are, and we have the opportunity to be who we want to be, to create a new inheritance for the future. May our thoughts, words, and actions live in our daily lives. May they assist in dismantling paradigms of oppression and suffering. May we give thanks for our individual place in time and space, to our families and our relationships that touch and change us. May we give thanks to the wise teachers who help us remember how to be and the chance to make it so. Underneath and within these stories and histories is our humanity. Being human means we are of this earth. We are these waters. We are fire and atmosphere. We are the sun and the moon and the stars. We are all that we see, and the wisdom is revealed by looking in between." Unquote. May it be so, and welcome home.
Such a radiance gives us breath, such a truth as ends all strife, such a life as killeth death. Come, my light, my feast, my strength, such a light as shows a feast, such a feast as mends in length, such a strength as makes a guest. Come, my joy, my love, my heart, such a joy as none can move, such a love as none can part, such a heart as joys in love.
If you have a personal chalice or candle near your computer, please get ready to light it. We invite you to type into the chat box where your chalice is lit, the street or neighborhood, or what city if you're joining us from outside Boulder County. Now, I'd like to invite longtime member Diane Ewing to light this morning's chalice.
I grew up in a typical middle-class white family in the 1940s and 50s. I did not think much about becoming or what I wanted to be. My college class was right at the tipping point for women's lives, between silently following the lead of the men in their lives and the opening of many career paths for women. I attended a women's college. No one had a clear idea of a career other than perhaps teaching. As it turned out, nearly everyone did end up with a career. I married, and by the time of my 5th college reunion, I had 3 children and was pregnant with twins. I did work briefly. However, soon I was at home with 5 little kids while my husband's career in engineering was taking off. I only remember what fun it was to be with 5 little ones all day long. Surely there were times I must have felt like tearing out my hair, but those memories disappeared quickly. My respite came when I joined the nearby Universalist Unitarian Church in Brockton. Yes, Universalist Unitarian was named before the merger. I made lifelong friends, and I felt that we were contributing positively to society. I became a church lady. Although I did have a career as an editor, I have given up hope that I and my friends will really save the world. I do take joy when my children or grandchildren or those of my friends take steps to better the world. A few years ago, I was excited when I learned my oldest daughter was going to Washington, D.C. from her Washington State home for a large gathering of environmentalists, where she met up with some UUCBers who also went. I'm pleased that some of my grandchildren have become vegetarians, as well as my son 10 years after his son. And when my oldest granddaughter got her PhD in human genomics, and that she's spending her career in cancer research. Now I'm still enjoying becoming. I'm becoming a gray-haired old lady, but one who cares about the world.
We now invite all those gathered in your various locations to join together in fellowship and community as we all say aloud our congregation's covenant. We gather in fellowship
to
to speak truth to each other,
to reach
to
out
reach out
to one
to
another,
touch one
to
another,
care with each other,
to care with each other,
divine. So
and to
be it.
seek the truth divine. So be it.
Good morning. My name is Robin Miller, and I am the chair of Connections Ministry, also known as membership. I'm here today to thank all of the wonderful, talented, hardworking folks who have been instrumental in keeping everything at UUCB going this past year. First, I want to say congratulations on a superb job. The UUCB community did not hesitate when the new virtual reality became a necessity. When I was asked to do this presentation 2 weeks ago, I consulted with my daughter, Brynja. We both wanted to write a rap or song that incorporated all the volunteer names. As the number of names increased, and it seemed like exponentially, we both decided that this would not be possible. But what I want to emphasize is that this is a good thing, is that we have more than 300 positions that were filled this past year. Some areas have been dormant in the church, but other opportunities have arisen and people have stepped up tremendously. I want to specifically recognize the worship team who have kept Sunday services engaging and inspiring over this past year. This group of people, really very few, have just stepped up to keep Sunday worship going. A particular thanks to Deborah and Amanda, whose extra effort has given us seriously great music. Additionally, the ministerial search team, who have put in hundreds of hours seeking the best fit for our next called minister. So the next time you see any of these folks, thank them. The following video will give you a good idea of how much has been going on at UUCB over the past year, and maybe inspire you to think about things where you could step up next year. I thank you in advance for your understanding. If anyone has been missed, or if I have spelled anything incorrectly, it is not on purpose. I did my best. Thanks again for all your hard work as a community.
Wow. Well, thank you, Robin, too, for putting that together. I don't want to miss all the work you've done here. And little trivia contest note here. Robin is the only volunteer of UUCB who's been brave enough to meet with me in person during this year. So thank you, Robin, for keeping membership going and helping us appreciate. It's just amazing to see all those names and know all the hands and hours and time and love that went into this year that was so different. So thank you all so much for stepping up and for continuing to do the amazing work that is really what keeps our congregation going. Love to you all. And we will also now pause to hold each other, to be with each other, to tune into our own joys and concerns. So let's just take a little time of quiet in our own thoughts, just to get in touch with what's truly on our mind, what we are bringing into this space today. Whatever it is, let us hold this and each other in silence. Let us turn our minds and hearts to those we love, holding them with love, acknowledging their painful challenges and sufferings. This is the time that I invite you to share your concerns with your community of love here. The easiest way to do that is to type your concerns into the chat box. When you do, I will name some of them, but know that we are all reading, we are all looking, and we are all holding these words tenderly, whether they are brought out loud or not. I know we have ongoing concerns for all our frontline workers, all our nurses and doctors, everyone out there working these clinics to get us all vaccinated, teachers, people keeping our grocery store shelves stocked, people keeping our world going through what has been one of the hardest years most of us can remember. What else is on your hearts, on your minds? Yes, the shooting, of course. It's hard to not have it on my mind. I know the first time I went grocery shopping afterwards was unlike any other grocery shopping trip I've taken, holding all those people still hurting. Tim's sister, Carolyn, who was diagnosed with lung and pancreatic cancer this week. I know there's a lot of people loving Carolyn who are worried about that. Yes, all the places that need the vaccine that are having trouble getting it, we hope that flood begins soon, that all the vaccines that are needed get where they can be used. Alan, I'm with you on that. The division in our country doesn't look like it's healing. So there's a lot of work we need to do. Fred and Barb share a special remembrance for Jean Gore, a former member of UUCB who we lost on Easter Sunday. Yeah, there's a lot of scary stories out there, close calls from that one. Matthew, I see your story there. That is scary. Glad that your friend is okay. Yeah, I believe that we are unfolding a mental health crisis in our country of epic proportions. So we need to reach out to love with all those we know who are isolated and struggling. Pat, remembering her friend Virginia, who we lost just about a month ago. Catherine's friend Lillian, whose husband passed away. Laura Beard's aunt fell out of bed and has some surgery upcoming. And a job hunt for Jen, who's looking for a full-time job in Madison, Wisconsin, if anyone has one. Yeah, this is what's going on out there, people. We got a lot of heartache, in our midst. It's good to remember. Sometimes we come to church and we say, everything's fine, I'm fine, everything's good, but this is some of the real stuff going on with our people that we love. So thank you for all who shared that. I know it's always scary to take that risk, but we see you and we love you and we are holding you. If you need more love, just let us know. We also want to witness with those who are full of love, full of joy, full of happiness. So please keep sharing, whether it's on either side of that ledger. We want to see it all, hold it all. I know there's been some beautiful spring weather out there. Flowers are pushing out of the earth and sharing their beauty with us. The sun is warming our skin. People are getting out for hikes. People are getting vaccinated. I got vaccinated on Tuesday. I got my Johnson & Johnson 1 shot. So for all of you who are feeling that joy, I share that with you. Yeah, people are gathering with friends who are vaccinated. What a blessing that is, huh? Getting to do some of that. My wife got to go see her grandmother. Finally, they're all vaccinated. A lot of joyous, long needed reunions finally happening. Yeah, we might as well mention those volunteers again, all 8 million of you who keep this amazing congregation humming. Hugs are the best. We can do them again sometime soon. We'll be able to say, hey, can I hug you again? That's going to be awesome. Can't wait. Thank you for that reminder, Nora Mina. Yeah, kids back in school. We see milestones that we've been waiting for 15 months or more. It's really happening. So much joy out there. That's great. And I just want to say thank you to the scientists, right, who made this happen. We didn't even know what this thing was 16 months ago. And here we are vaccinating a whole world against it. So thank you for all you have let us return to. For all these blessings and all these concerns, as well as those that remain silently on our hearts, we hold this compassionate space with love. As always, I thank you for the ways you continue to bless each other. Let's join each other now in a little mystery of silence, some sacred quiet. Wherever you are, let your body get comfortable. Make sure your feet are firmly planted on the ground or maybe tucked up underneath you. And let's just close our eyes for a moment. And with no agenda at all, just be. Maybe you want to follow your breath for a moment. Maybe you want to let your thoughts wander where they may. Just hold the beauty of this silence with me for a moment. Spirit of life, creator, mother, we are so grateful for this moment, for this gathered community, for the fact that we can be reminded that we truly are not alone, that whether it be virtual or actual, we are connected in love, value, spirit. I'm grateful for all that you unfold with us. Thank you, UCB, for doing all that you are doing. May it be so.
Religion is not about accepting 20 impossible propositions before breakfast, but about doing things that change you. It's a moral aesthetic, an ethical alchemy. If you behave in a certain way, you will be transformed. The myths and laws of religion are not true because they conform to some metaphysical, scientific, or historical reality, but because they are life enhancing. They will tell you how human nature functions, but you will not discover their truth unless you apply these myths and doctrines to your own life and put them into practice. Karen Armstrong, The Spiral Staircase, My Climb Out of Darkness.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
Always a favorite of mine. Thank you, Deborah. As their ship was sailing through a remote region of the Pacific Ocean, the lookout spotted a signal fire on a small, isolated island. After getting close enough to observe a man frantically jumping around on shore and waving his arms wildly, the captain launched off in his dinghy to rescue him. And as he was pulling up to shore, he noticed 3 huts on the island, but only the one castaway. After making contact and getting him aboard, the captain remained curious as to why there were 3 huts, but only one man to rescue. So he asked the castaway, quote, "What was the first hut for?" "That's my house," said the castaway. "And the second hut, what was that one for?" "Oh, thank you for asking," the man replied. "You know, I'm a devoutly religious man, and that's my church." "And the third hut, what was that for?" asked the captain. "Oh, that," sniffs the castaway. "That's the church I used to go to." Well, the truth in this joke is one that ministers understand all too well. Spiritual discipline is hard. Spiritual community and spiritual practice can both be difficult to stick to for long and consistent stretches of our life. And this is unfortunate because sticking with our personal growth is really the most important part of the whole process. We don't like to think of our spiritual lives being about hard work. I think partly because so many of our teachers make it look easy. Serenely sitting in lotus for hours with an otherworldly smile. But the truth they know is that no one accomplishes anything in this world worth doing internally or externally, without a lot of hard work and practice along the way. Take, for example, Pablo Casals, considered by many to be the greatest cellist to ever live. The recordings made of him performing the Bach cello suites in the late 1930s are considered to be unsurpassed in their genius and beauty to this very day. In fact, I was able to find a copy on YouTube of this performance from the 1930s, and we will get to see and hear him play a small piece of this directly following the sermon, and it is gorgeous. As you will hear, this guy is special. His talent for music was discovered very early in his life, when by the age of 4, he had already mastered the violin, piano, and flute, learning, as every good young musician does, from his church organist and choir director. But when he was about 11 years old, he first heard a cello being played, and, stirred by the uniquely evocative beauty of its sound, decided to dedicate his life to the cello and the cello alone. 3 years later, he gave a cello recital in Barcelona that left people stunned. And before he turned 20 years old, he had joined the faculty of the famous Municipal School of Music in Barcelona and was the principal cellist for the Barcelona Opera House. He went on to travel the world, playing for kings and queens, presidents, and sold-out theaters wherever he went. However, despite his world-renowned mastery of this instrument that he knew as well as his own heartbeat, throughout his entire career, he maintained an incredibly grueling practice schedule, playing for 6 hours every single day, whether he had a performance or not. In fact, on the day he died at the age of 96 years old, he had already put in several hours practicing his scales. A few years earlier, when he was a sprightly 93, a friend had asked him why, after all he had accomplished in his long and successful career, he was still practicing as hard as ever. Because, Casals replied, quote, "I think I'm starting to make some progress." Because I think I'm starting to make some progress. Wiser words, perhaps, have never been spoken. The only way we make progress towards our goals is through practice. And since so many of us, especially those of us who belong to and are actively engaged in a spiritual community, are interested in spiritual growth, we must commit to spiritual practice. But what is spiritual growth, and what exactly is the goal of all of this practice? I think different people would define it in different ways. For some, spiritual growth means learning how to get back to a calm center when life inevitably knocks us for a loop. For others, it means deepening our relationship with ourselves or with a higher power. Still others, it means learning how to love more freely. But I think for all of us, it's the pursuit of a deeper level of truth than we feel in touch with at this moment. In Unitarian Universalism, we affirm and support 7 principles at the heart of our faith tradition. And number 4 speaks to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. I actually believe this is pretty unique among the world's historic religious traditions, most of which, rather than seek to provide resources to help someone grow along their unique path, rather focus on teaching their religion's historical truth and dogma, which may or may not suit each individual who encounters it. I tend to agree with psychologist Carl Jung when he said, quote, "One of the main functions of formalized religions is to protect people against a direct experience of God," unquote. Or as boundary-defying comedian Lenny Bruce put it, as only he could, quote, "Every day, people are straying away from the church and going back to God," unquote. But I think that our movement's commitment to a true spiritual growth process is an attempt to correct this, whether it is God or ourselves that we seek to know better. And today, I want to share with you the 3 ingredients that one very wise sage believes every spiritual practice must include. First, a bit about the wise sage in question. The Reverend James Ishmael Ford has been an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister for over 25 years, serving several of our congregations on both the East and West Coast. But what he is best known for is becoming the first ordained UU minister to also become a Zen master, as he officially accomplished in 2005 after many decades of study. I think I probably see Reverend Ford kind of like how an amateur cellist may view the master Pablo Casals, who I spoke of earlier. Reverend Ford is a heavyweight that amazes me with his dedication to continued practice and learning. In order to pass his final test to become a Zen master, Reverend Ford had to answer over 600 koans, those famous riddles like, what is the sound of one hand clapping, that can only be unwound with years of meditation. Yet, he still writes daily on Facebook about his attempts to become a better person. Recently, he was documenting in humorous detail his so far failed attempt at banishing the F word from his daily vocabulary. Just like me and you and our friend Pablo Casals, this Zen master minister still has work to do becoming the person he ultimately wishes to be. And so he continues to practice. And recently he shared with us his secret 3 ingredients to a healthy and successful spiritual practice. And considering the source, I think this is something we should listen to. So, the first thing he tells us we need when building a spiritual practice is, in his words, quote, some shut up time. Because if you're making noise all the time, it's hard to pay attention, hard to notice the lessons and the lesson, unquote. And I think this first point gets right to the heart of what we are ultimately trying to accomplish when embarking on a spiritual practice. To quiet the surface of things so that we may catch a glimpse of what lies beneath. Or as my favorite Indian guru Satya Sai Baba said, quote, all spiritual practice must be directed to the removal of the husk and the revelation of the kernel, unquote. I know it's a little corny, but worked for me. But we live in a world ripe with distractions that keep us from doing that work. In fact, the vast majority of people listening to me right now have a supercomputer sitting in their pocket, lap, purse, or let's be honest, perhaps even your hands, that is created to frequently vibrate, buzz, and beep in order to get your attention back to the literally infinite set of distraction tools it has on offer for your highly suggestible brain, 24/7, 365, as they say. And so, for the most part, we never make the time and space for the universe or collective unconscious or God to get a word in. It's just us and our constantly changing reactions to the flashing lights, inflammatory clickbait, and cat pictures that surround us. And so here's a news flash for you. This is not where the growth lies. And so we need some silent time, some retreat from this endless buffet of distraction. This can be found in a myriad of ways: meditation, prayer, running, getting out in nature. A good first step for a lot of us would be to pick a social media free day, or at least large chunk of time out of a day that will be completely social media free, meaning no smartphone, no apps, no computer, no TV, no radio. Personally, I think music is always okay, but the point is to let the sound of the world get through to you regularly. So, some kind of silent time. That's the first part of the recipe. Part two is that you need some regularity. You need to make this new practice something that you commit to doing frequently and consistently. There's no question that even doing a spiritual practice just one time can have a great benefit. When I meditate after once again letting my practice slip and go dormant, I immediately feel more centered. But there is simply nothing like the growth that comes with consistent and committed practice over time. Because the real secret is that it's not the thing that you commit to doing that really matters. It's the returning to it over and over and over again that creates the value and the growth. Which is not to take anything away from meditation or prayer. There's a reason these spiritual technologies have remained with us for so long. Some practices have proven to work for a lot of people over our history of learning how to quiet our mind. But meditation and prayer are not right for everyone. So don't judge yourself because it's painting or hiking or playing the cello that works for you. Just be glad that you found your thing and commit to doing it regularly. Because then the conversation with your chosen practice can begin as you meet each other again and again on the battlefield. Because that's another truth of committed, consistent spiritual practice. If it's going to be a regular thing, it's going to be a struggle at times. No one wants to return to their chosen practice every time they must return to it. But it is the conversation you will have with yourself in those moments when you do it anyway that will add up. So it's like a marriage. You must commit to it in sickness and in health, in good times and in bad, because all of those things will come, and yet you must endure. You must make the effort to return to your practice again and again, and it will yield beauty, healing, and growth. So that's 1 and 2. Here is the third ingredient that brings this all together. And this one is really good news for all of you. Number 3 is you can't do this alone. And so as Reverend Ford says, quote, you need someone to check you. The brain is a great liar. We tell ourselves all sorts of stories about what we need and deserve, only some of which are true, unquote. This is where this place, this congregation, its members and its affinity groups like our anti-racist learning community come into the process. It's like having a whole bunch of workout buddies, but for our souls. We need each other to check us, to keep us accountable to the commitments we make, and to help us see our own blind spots, which we all have plenty of. But you've all figured this part out already, as it is at least part of what brought you here. Community matters. And in fact, these relationships we build here are essential to our spiritual growth. So that's it. As I said in the title, easy as 1, 2, 3. Find some shut up time, return to your practice again and again, and make sure you're not on this road alone. I don't expect you to find anything particularly earth-shattering in these ingredients, but I do hope that hearing them laid out in this way inspires you to keep doing what you're doing, or if you've fallen off of a spiritual practice, to try and pick it up again and return. Now, all you need to do is commit to the practice and truly stick with it. And if you do, hopefully, sometime right around your 93rd birthday, you too may realize you're starting to make some real progress. May it be so. Ashe, and let's hear from our friend on the cello.
This month, we share 100% of our offering plate with the Boulder County Crisis Fund. This fund was established by the Community Foundation serving Boulder County in response to the King Soopers grocery store shootings. Shortly after the shootings that left 10 people dead in Boulder, bouquets of flowers, mementos, poems, and signs appeared along a fence on Table Mesa in a makeshift memorial just steps away from where the shooting took place. We've seen memorials like this before, moving tributes that none of us expected to see here in our beloved community. With the help of the Community Foundation Crisis Fund, we can make a donation to help rebuild the lives of those impacted by this terrible event. As the foundation notes, in our grief, let us also remember our resilience. We will get through this together. You can make a donation now using the link posted in our chat by sending a check to UUCB or scanning the QR code on the next slide with your mobile phone. Please be as generous as you can. We will now receive the offering. May our gifts be used to enact justice, bring peace and love to the Boulder community.
Winds be still, storm clouds pass and silence come. Peace grace this time with harmony. Fly, bird of hope, and shine, light of love, and in calm let all find tranquility. Bird fly high, lift help us to sense life's mystery. Fly high and far and lead us each to see how we move through the winds of eternity. Light shine in, illuminate our inward view, help us to see with clarity. Shine bright and true, so we may join our songs in new sounds that become full symphony.
Thank you, Deborah, for sharing some live hymns with us today. What a treat. As we prepare our hearts and minds to return to the world, hear these words of dancer and choreographer Martha Graham, who said, quote, "I believe that we learn by practice. Whether it means to learn to dance by practicing dancing or to learn to live by practicing living, the principles are the same. In each, it is the performance of a dedicated, precise set of acts, physical or intellectual, from which comes shape of achievement, a sense of one's being, a satisfaction of spirit. One becomes, in some area, an athlete of God. Practice means to perform over and over again in the face of all obstacles, some act of vision, of faith, of desire. Practice is a means of inviting the perfection desired." Unquote. May we continue to practice together. May it be so. Ashe.
Go your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way. Go your way in peace, wander as you blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way.
We invite you to stay with us in our Zoom rooms for a time of online fellowship and discussion. Our Zoom lobby focus will be from Your Board is Listening, led by Chris Zanomi. Barb and Fred are here to tell you how this is going to work.
Hey, good morning, everybody.